Hey, what's up, sinners?
How you doing, guys?
Alright, so today we were just talking and we thought it would be funny to tell you guys about the terrible ways that we handled leaving our jobs earlier in our lives. Yeah. We handled things pretty terribly. Like, I don't think that you guys should follow these examples. I think you should use these as what not to do when you leave a job.
Yeah, I mean, I quit terribly, and it was because I was following her crappy advice.
No,
So
I
I'm sure
didn't
that
even
you
give
don't
him
follow
it. I didn't even give him advice. We just happened to be already together here, like around my town.
Okay, so should start off by saying I was working at Papa John's.
When was this? Like 3 years ago? 2 years.
No,
Two and a
it was
half
more.
years.
It was maybe like 3 or 4.
No, we've only been together for 4.5 years, and you weren't working.
It was like 3 years.
3 years.
Anyways, 3 years ago, I was working at Papa John's, and I don't know, I think I worked there for like 3 months, and then, you know, obviously
What did you do at Papa John's?
I was going to school, and I was going to work on the weekends basically, and I just, what do you think I was doing at Papa John's? I was making pizza.
I'm just saying, like, you could have been a manager, you could have been a delivery boy. Like, what did you do at Papa John's that made you feel like I want to quit?
Working at a pizza shop made me want to quit. It's like,
everyone at a pizza shop is like,
I mean, it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it was just like, not the most fulfilling job, you know? It's like cool when you're 18, but...
He was 21.
I was like...
You were 21? 22?
I was maybe like 21, 22, you know, and I was just kind of like...
Here I am,
it was a pain in the ass.
pepperoni.
Like going to school and then going to work on the weekend, it was just hard, you know?
That's hard for anybody.
It was hard.
No matter what job you have.
But anyways,
Exhibit A.
besides that, I decided I wanted to quit, and one day I was hanging out with Julie, like on Friday, and I had...
Yes, but it also happened to be, like, the situation was a little bit more because my school that I grew up going to was having a fair that weekend, and I totally forgot about it or something, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go, do you want to go? And he was like, I have work. So it was kind of just like, well, he had the temptation of going to the fair, getting a few brewskis, like hanging out with some friends, or like driving all the way home to, you know, where he lives, which is about half an hour away.
That was the crappy thing about the job, was that it was on the weekend, and it's like, I just went to school all week. I want to like hang out on the weekend, and I couldn't, because every evening I would have to go to work for just like 4 hours. So I was hanging out with Julie. We wanted to go to her school festival, but I had work. So I was like, you know what, this, like, I've been wanting to quit, like, today's the day. I'm just like, I'm done. And so I was like, Julie, should I just not go? Because this is like a couple hours before my shift. I'm just like, Julie, should I not go?
And he put this in my brain already. Like, he suggested it. I was just like, I don't know, like, do what you want. Like, yeah, if you feel like you don't want to go, then don't go. It's a pizza job. Which is not the thing that I should have said as a girlfriend and as an adult. I shouldn't have said that, because you should never just not show up.
Exactly.
And so especially not call out.
So I decided not to show up,
without calling. No call, no show. No. That's a big no-no.
Yeah, I just didn't do any, I didn't talk to them at all. Basically, a few hours later go by. I'm hanging out with Julie, and
I think it might have been an hour or so into what would have been your shift.
Yeah. So an hour into what would have been my shift, I get a phone call from my dad, and he's like, hey, why didn't you go to work? And I'm just like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
No.
Yeah, like, so my dad goes, why didn't you go to work? And basically I told him, well, I decided to quit. And he's like, well, you didn't call them, and they're calling us, like, because they want to know if there's been an emergency. They haven't heard from you. They want to know if you're okay, which is really nice of them.
Yeah, that was nice of them.
So yeah, I just decided not to go, not to show up. My dad was pissed at me. Obviously they were kind of angry because I didn't call, and I guess they were worried. And yeah, I just didn't sit well, and so my dad was like pretty upset.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me, is that they called your family. It's like they got your like parents involved.
Yeah, obviously I didn't see that coming. I just kind of, because there had been other guys at work that didn't just didn't show up, didn't call, didn't show up. And I think they kind of expected it from them, but from me, they weren't expecting that. So that's why they were just kind of like calling, you know. But yeah, it was kind of, I expected them to just not call, and I would talk about it with them the next day. You know what I mean? And anyways, long story short, I picked up my check a couple weeks later, and I made sure that the manager wasn't there because I was pretty sure.
I remember that. You were like, oh, I wonder if so-and-so's there, and you were texting, like, I think...
I was texting somebody at work to make sure that I didn't pick up my check while the manager was still there. I went like really late, like around 9 p.m. after the manager's gone. So basically
the tail between the legs type of thing.
Under Julie's poor advice.
It wasn't poor advice, it was just poor support. It was like me not intervening and being like, you shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
I think I did tell you to call though.
Maybe.
I think I told you to
But it
call.
sure as hell wasn't very
convincing.
Yeah, it was more like do whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, anyways.
The festival was great, and I felt like a total badass that night.
Oh my god.
Until my dad called.
Until his dad called and totally ruined everything.
Yeah.
So I also quit my job. As most of you know, my first job ever. Well, not ever. We actually worked at a school, which is a complete disaster that was.
And a completely different story.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways,
like Julie just goes like off track with her stories.
Yeah, anyways, so yeah, my first job, like real job ever, was at McDonald's. I worked there for 1 month. So I went for the long haul. Anyways, I'm really committed. I was literally, when you're the new person, I think they make you work the breakfast shift, which means you have to be there at 6 a.m. So I was literally going to bed at like 9 p.m. because it's hard for me to not get a lot of sleep. So I can't function. So I would like go to sleep at like 9 p.m., wake up at 5:15-ish, get on my stupid uniform and like go to work and serve like mean old people breakfast. Yeah, it's just like, old people are great, don't get me wrong, but when they want food and they're at a cheap place, they're not great.
And they're useless.
What do you mean they're useless?
They literally serve no purpose in society.
Wow. These are your grandparents, kids. Okay, so anyways, I just got so tired of waking up early, and then like Will was saying like, oh, like, I don't know, I think we were kind of talking like we wouldn't hang out anymore. We wouldn't talk very much anymore because I would always have to wake up so early. Yeah,
she would basically not go out on... Ever, because she had to wake up at like 5 a.m. to go make milkshakes.
Yeah, milkshakes,
for
coffee,
other people.
Sweet tea. Do you know how much sugar they put in a sweet tea? We put a whole bag of sugar in this one thing of sweet tea.
I don't believe you.
I swear to God, they were like, make the sweet tea. And I was like, okay. So then like that little barrel thing they have where you like put the nozzle to put the sweet tea in, we put an entire bag of cane sugar in the tea. So don't drink sweet tea, guys, from McDonald's, because that will kill you.
That's like a sure path to diabetes right there.
Diabetes. So anyways, I got super tired of it, and there was just like one day where I was just like fed up. I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore, but I have work tomorrow, so I want to quit, but I still have my shift and I'm annoyed. And then Will was just like, why don't you just not go? Like, people, it's McDonald's, like people do that all the time. And I was like, you know what, you're so right. I'm gonna sleep in, I'm not gonna go. And I didn't call, I didn't find a replacement, because there you had to find a replacement. I didn't find a replacement, and I didn't go. And I woke up at like 8:30 or 9, and I felt great. But I still had to go get my check, because I'm not gonna work for nothing. So I think the next day or the day after that, I wasn't working the rest of the week, and I went in to get my check. And then the shift leader was there, and I was like, oh God, like, cause I knew she was working the shift that I was supposed to work. And so I came in and I was like, hey, I'm here to pick up my check. And she was like, oh, really? Like, where were you the other day? And I was like, oh, I quit. And she was like, oh, we didn't know that. And I was like, yeah,
I'm just letting you know now.
It was like, yeah, I meant to tell you. It's like, I meant to tell you guys that. And she was like, oh, okay. So then she took me by the counter and you're not allowed to go back there unless you're in uniform, which I wasn't. So to get your check, you have to be like kind of next to the people who are ordering their food. And there was a long line of people, and they were kind of like craning. I could tell they were craning to kind of listen to what was going on, and I was like, oh God, like don't look at me. So the actual manager comes out to get the like key to open the door for all the checks. And she was like, oh, like, why are you quitting? I heard you're quitting. And I was like, oh, like, I just pulled a lie out of my I was like, oh yeah, like, I actually, like, was on the waiting list for Cal State LA for housing, and I ended up getting a spot, so I'm moving. And she was just like, oh, okay. And then so she gave me my check, and then I was just like, oh God. So like I picked it up, and then one of the girls that I happened to be friends with was like waving at me.
Too.
No, that would have been great. But yeah, she was like waving at me, hi, like all excited, and I was like, hi, like I'm never gonna see you again, bye. So I just felt really bad, like, and they put me on the spot, like, and unlike Will, who was like texting people, like being like, is he there? Like I had to face my manager, and she was really scary. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the stories, and make sure that you don't do what we did. Just, you know, swallow that frog in your throat and just call and be like, I'm not coming in and I quit. Or tell your manager straight up, I quit. You can write a letter and quit. I've done that before because my manager wasn't even there. That was awkward. All right, don't forget to like the video if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment about any way that you've left a job, if you left in a big storm, made a scene, or if you just slithered away like we did. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, but until then, sit on, sinners.